Well, this seems wildly unfair. I'm not sure these game makers even care about being unbiased. And I love that Maximus's words are immediately proven true since the guys on the outskirts are getting owned.
If we stay together, we survive.
I know this is like the whole thing, but it really is unnerving to see a guy get skewered and hear the crowd cheer. He's that good. Came up with a game plan on the fly from his years of experience and has earned the respect of these men in such a short period of time and so completely that he's able to implement a successful strategy in the moment. He used to be an adventurer like you, but then he took an arrow to the knee. What, you don't like 13-year-old memes? That's the bro right there. And like, yeah, Hagen is a good guy to have on his team, but also, Maximus is just a good person. And this was the first time I found out I could have impure thoughts about armor. But then I was punished for those thoughts immediately. Also, fatality! Resourcefulness. I had a moment this time through where I felt bad for the Roman soldiers, and then it occurred to me that they aren't soldiers. They're most likely just other slaves in Roman costumes. Anyway, I still feel bad for anyone that goes up against Maximus, because they have no idea what they're in for. Hell yes, hell yes! This movie doesn't even need that sword throw and catch spin to be amazing, but hot damn do I want to be a gladiator again. Is he not entertained? I don't know, I guess it was little things like showing his, I don't know, let's call it his tone face when people are being ruthlessly murdered in front of him. That made me think he might not be a good leader. Or a decent human. Yep. I love that he cares so little about the games or being adored by the crowd that he was ready to spear Commodus right then and there.
I'm at the Emperor's service.
Clever girl. Kids literally ruin everything. I just want to stick a sharp thing in this guy's neck and kids gotta be on the way.
Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us all your real name? You do have a name.
Ha! A name. Boy, you got no idea.
How dare you show your back to me?
It's like he's calling Commodus's bluff. I'm not sure Maximus had a plan, but you can imagine that being in front of your enemy with no power to do what you need to do would send your emotions and hormones into a spiral, so turning around is actually his version of restraint.
Slave! Will you remove your helmet and tell me your name?
Well, you asked for it. But can you feel that? Did you feel it the first time you saw it? I did. And yet I still had no idea what was coming.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
And then we get the moment. This is the one we've been waiting for. We know he's gonna kill Commodus. Commodus knows it. Look at his stupid face, he knows. This is the ultimate FAFO. And Commodus FA'd, so you know he's gonna FO.
Commander of the armies of the North. General of the Felix Legions.
I love both that Lucilla was completely bored before he removed his helmet, and also that the cut to her reveals that his voice is carrying throughout the entire Colosseum for everyone to hear.
Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance. In this life or the next.
It's just straight up one of the top 10 most moving monologues in film of all time. And he's literally just saying his name.
Loyal servant to the true Emperor, Marcus Aurelius.
And he even gets a jab at Commodus and beyond the accusations that only Commie would understand. And besides Commodus's face, look at Quintus. Well, who's this guy? Weird, so weird. I just got this job yesterday. Do you know this guy? I don't know him. The way Commodus briefly tries to play it off and control the crowd while they ignore him is fantastic. Yes, sir. I love when the score also sticks it to Commodus. This would be a funny scene on the page, like his slave buddies are doing crowd control for Maxine the celeb. But it works for the movie because he just got elevated by defying an emperor, the man specifically responsible for their deaths. I really enjoy Commodus's Dwight Schrute method of ruling. Black desk, black knickknacks, even his armor is dark.
It vexes me. I'm terribly vexed.
And it's these lines that separate the true fans from the filthy casuals. If someone utters the word vex in your presence, you need to let them know that you're terribly vexed.
What did you feel when you saw him?
I felt nothing.
They lied to me in Germania. They told me he was dead.
So that had to be Quintus who lied, right? Because M-Dog killed all the rest of the Praetorians. There's actually a deleted scene in the extended version that goes further, and Commodus really presses Quintus, but ultimately it just makes C seem a tad more psychotic, and Q seem like maybe a bit of a dum-dum. It was right to cut it.
Poor sister. I wouldn't want to be your enemy.
Oh, he doesn't know.
Rich matrons pay well to be pleasured by the bravest champions.
I only watched one season of Spartacus, but is that like the entire premise of that show? The way he deliberately pulls to the end of his chains.
Today I saw a slave become more powerful than the Emperor of Rome.
The one thing that's always stung so much about this movie is that lines like that are supposed to be like a compliment or good news, but he was already more powerful than the Emperor of Rome. I know she's speaking more about stations than people. It's just annoying. Look, this movie's basically perfect, so I gotta get my complaints in.
With the power only to amuse a mob.
That is power.
Bleak, but she ain't wrong.
This man served Rome well.
That man is gone.
Told ya. Checks out that when your employment is death, you might mess around with it in your free time as well. They always say if you love what you do, you will never work another day in your life, and they're always completely wrong about that.
General!
So quickly he went from Spaniard to general, which would clearly make him more worried about being poisoned. Just dudes being guys. Also checks out when your employment is death, you might joke about it in your free time as well.
You have a great name. He must kill your name before he kills you.
Juba coming through with the wisdom again. Ridley really took the bread and circuses thing literally.
Returning to the Colosseum today after 5 years in retirement.
Ha! Hunger Games stole this. Love how it's presented as an honor, and even more depressing that Tigress might actually see it that way too.
The only undefeated champion, the legendary Tigress of Gaul!
Tigress is a Gaul? Maximus is lucky it's not Asterix and Obelix. Those Gauls know what's up.
Marcus Aurelius had a dream that was Rome, Proximo. This is not it.
I really love that he's still arguing about the stuff that matters to him seconds before a fight. Partially because dying might just be part of his journey, but I also think he's confident enough in his skills that all he can do is his best. A little warm-up stretch is all he needs.
Shadows and dust, Maximus!
Is Shadows and Dust being yelled at Maximus as he climbs the stairs iconic? I don't even know anymore. Is it glorious? Yeah. I've got some stuff to say about masculinity in the conclusion, but just throwing it out there that this right here, this casual but confident walk that Maximus does here, not even showing a sliver of nerves, in the shape he's in at 35, the power oozing out of his aura, completely unaffected by the crowd's adoration, this is the epitome of masculinity for me. If someone said to Maximus right now, never mind, you don't have to fight this guy, he'd say, okay then, and he'd walk back down the stairs. He has nothing to prove, and yet he's about to prove everything? Does that make sense? How many of you am I alienating with this specific win? I've always loved the sand thing because it definitely feels like something that he could have done at the beginning of a battle when he was just a young soldier to get the sweat off his hands and improve his grip on his gladius. But then over the years, it became his ritual, his way to ground himself and connect to the terrain. Also, it reminds him what he's fighting for, to get back home to his farm and get his hands back in the dirt.
You know, dirt cleans off a lot easier than blood, Quintus.
We who are about to die, salute you!
The most respectful versions of F you as well. They aren't standing too close to each other, but you can tell that Tigress is towering over Maximilian. Sven Olthorsen is 6'4", 300 pounds. Normally, I'd think the older expert in one-on-one fighting would easily flatten the young upstart, but this is staged. Tigress is clearly pulling his punch slashes. I also haven't talked about the sound design much, and goodness gracious, every sword clang, every shield parry, the metal of the mask and Maximus's shield slamming together, you feel every hit. I'm out. There's not a lot of them, but I love these wide shots of the fight. Most of the footage is so close and visceral, but when you pan out, you really see the spectacle of it all. Should we bring back killing people for sport? No, I don't know we shouldn't.
It's been arranged.
You can imagine that all Commodus meant was that Tigress knew to move Maximus toward the tigers. Ha! I mean, he already had the advantage as one of them. But also, they were real. Obviously some composite shots, but those tigers are really there. You shouldn't applaud this. I'm a tiger expert, and this is the stress response. But also, I'll chalk Max's escape up to the tiger being overstimulated by the crowd, because 99 out of 100 times, that Maximus is a tiger snaximus. Also, poor kitty. I always thought the 1v1 of this scene was enough novelty, but the tigers do add an extra bit of tension. The 1-2 punch of the under the helmet hit and then the spike to the foot is so brutal. I got him again. Defying Commodus is becoming his favorite pastime.
What am I going to do with you? You simply won't die.
I have only one more life to take. Then it is done.
At some point, you'd have to feel like you're trying to kill the Grim Reaper. Just can't imagine the fear I'd be feeling.
The time for honoring yourself will soon be at an end, Highness.
I'm not gonna play the lines, you've heard them, but this response from Maximus is really the only thing he could say in this moment, and it makes us love him all the more. Hey, she got back onto the set again.
What do you say to them?
To my boy, I tell him I will see him again soon. To my wife, that is not your business.
Nice.
So I can't just kill him, or it makes me even more unmerciful.
The juxtaposition of Maximus having a chuckle while Commodus whines like a toddler is amazing and probably should have been the first hint that everything is about to get sad.
Everyone, they doing this, Tim, they do.
I mean, also this.
Let my men see me alive, and you shall see what their loyalties lie.
This is madness.
No, this is Sparta. Well, Rome, but it's the same thing, right?
I will kill Commodus. The fate of Rome, I leave to you.
He still doesn't want it, which beyond the whole dictator of it all, not wanting to govern and knowing you wouldn't be right for it makes me respect him even more.
And he will bleed too. Very soon.
But not tonight.
Oof, you'd think he'd be wise to her ever so slightly opening the door, but narcissists do be narcissisting. Creep. Creepy creep. Creeper creepy creepin'. Her face says it all.
My brother hates all the world, and you most of all.
Because your father chose me.
No, because my father loved you, and because I loved you.
Which is sweet until Maximus really thinks about it, and wait, your brother wishes you loved him?
I'm Maximus, the savior of Rome.
Kid, so pure, so stupid. He probably doesn't even know what those words mean. He likely just overheard something he shouldn't have.
The savior of Rome. And you said that.
Which is why he wouldn't even know snitching on his mom would be a huge mistake.
He knew they were busy little bees. You shall watch as I bathe in their blood.
He really takes his creepiness about bees to monster bathing in blood levels so fast here. The subtext is gone, even Lucius understands what's going on. Nope, getting Nightmare Before Xmas flashbacks.
Proxima, are you in danger of becoming a good man?
That scoff is everything.
If you don't want any part of this, go back to your cells.
We wait here for you. Strength and honor.
This kind of loyalty is truly something. Do they even know what they're fighting for? Maybe, but they trust that Maximus knows what's best. Plus, hearing strength and honor again is heartwarming and heartbreaking.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Shatters dust.
Self-sacrifice. Also, sadly, Oliver Reed passed away before his scenes were done, so some stuff was reworked, and you might have noticed that they reused a few shots, but it's so clean they work perfectly. And Hagen goes down smiling. This bums me out. But thankfully his descendants lived on to come in second place at Beer Fest. Man, I can't believe how rough these 40 seconds are. We lose 3 great ones in the blink of an eye. It's genuinely startling how fast everything just absolutely falls apart and Maximus is cooked. I always forget that this movie is truly a tragedy.
Lucius will stay with me now. And if his mother so much as looks at me in a manner that displeases me, he will die. If she decides to be noble.
An Arrested Development level reveal that she's there and he's actually talking to her about her.
You will provide me with an heir of pure blood.
Oh, okay, so we're just saying the quiet part out to really assist.
Am I not merciful?
Am I not merciful?
You am not. Also, the loud one was improvised by Phoenix on the day. Interestingly, it was originally going to be one or the other, the soft or the loud, but both together really send the point home.
You would fight me.
The teensiest, tiniest of smirks on his face? He knows, we all know. In a fair fight, there's literally no way Maxwell doesn't wipe the floor with him.
Unlike Maximus the Invincible, who knows no fear.
Commodus probably takes that laughter as Maximus thinking it's funny Commodus would fight him, but what Maximo is truly laughing at is how little Commodus actually understands any of this. About war, duels, death, the idea that Maximus doesn't experience fear just shows Maximus that Commodus believes the myth and legend of the Spaniard when Maximus knows he's just a dude and he doesn't care about any of that. He knows that one way or another he's going to die.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
Did your friend smile at his own death?
You must know. He was your father.
Insane setup and knockdown. Drew him in, waited till he took the bait, and boom, just flattens him with that line. And apparently Marcus Aurelius didn't say exactly that, but similar stuff. But really, I just love that Commodus finally tacitly admits that he was the one who killed Marcus. Scott never got enough coverage in this movie, and that's one of my biggest takeaways, but the lighting here is still aces, making Commodus' eyes almost completely blacked out. He's finally shed his dark armor for some white armor now that he's planning to enter the arena as the good guy, and it's actually pretty dope. Hell yes, you never knew turtles were this cool. One last wish for home. I appreciate that Maximus doesn't even look at Quintus. I'd like to see him flayed, but the disrespect will have to do. Imagine if Biden or Trump or Putin challenged Patty the Batty to fight in the— actually, yes, I would watch that. The craziest part is that the real Commodus actually fought in the games quite a bit, but people thought he was crazy for it, and it may have ultimately led to his assassination. So, yeah, not that far off. And we know that this Commodus does have some training, but no experience with anyone giving 100.
Sword! Give me a sword!
Sheathe your sword! Sheathe your sword!
I mean, still, screw you, you ladder-climbing garbage pail dumpster fire of a human, but yeah, at least he does one right thing. Sure, he's bleeding out, but it's actually poetic that he's trying to go to them before Commodux is even dead, because he doesn't care about his vengeance anymore. Still gotta finish the work. Get him, Max. We weren't guaranteed to see him pummel Commodus so mercilessly, so I do love that he inflicts some real mollywhopping. And there are some brutal and gruesome deaths in this movie, but this one takes the cake, as it should. For a pretty quick fight scene, this moment is really stretched out and slowed down, not because we need to watch Commodus die slow, but so that we can see all the emotion between the two. Commodus realizes it's happening, he's just getting overpowered, and Maximus is in full business mode until Commodus slips away. And then do we almost see some sadness or regret on Maximus's face? They weren't besties, but Commodus seems to genuinely refer to Maximus as his brother.
Commodus is not a moral man. You have known that since you were young.
And I don't think Maximus ever really reveled in taking life anyway. The silence is amazing. I know Rome was a wild time, but I can't imagine watching your head of state killed right in front of you. All he's wanted for so long, from the very first frame of the movie, in fact. I love that we start there and end back there again.
Maximus.
And this Weasley bootlicking, backstabbing, eagle-chasing, betrayal-faced McTraitor Toes ruined his homecoming. But that's the third time this movie that Maximus has been brought back like that. Thankfully, it's the last time.
Free my men. Senator Gracchus is to be reinstated. There was a dream that was Rome. It shall be realized.
And Maximus is still the better and the best man. He doesn't even question Quintus because he knows he did what he had to do. I don't. I'm still mad. OMG, when people yell at me to go touch grass, is this what they mean? I'm sorry if I've ever gotten mad about that. I'll touch grass anytime.
Go to them.
And it's sweet that Lucilla is the one to release him because she always clearly wished things had been different between them. It's beautiful that he leaves before his body does. And I'm very happy that this isn't left vague because I probably wouldn't survive if it was. In the Gladiator verse, there is an afterlife and Maximus is in it with his family. We're correctly kept out of their reunion because that's just for them, but it's enough to know they're together. Plus, Lisa Gerrard's vocals with Hans Zimmer's score set the standard for film scores. So many films tried to find the right mix they found, and pretty much nobody has done it as well since.
Who will help me carry him?
Love that his Gladiator comrades are first to step up. And way to get involved, kiddo, especially since your snitching basically killed him. Snitch. You better apologize, Paul. Absolutely love the shot of Maximus's body being honored while Commodus lies in the dirt, with everyone's, even his sister's, back turned to him. Look, bruh, I don't know why they'd want to be buried there, but it's a sweet gesture, I guess. Still, coming back to and ending here with Maximus's family figurines ties a bow on the story that makes it so much less about revenge, and more about justice, peace, and even stoicism, because Maximus won and lost almost in equal measure.
I will see you again, but not yet. Not yet.
Well, you are welcome for that totally unbiased and lacking all emotion look at Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
No, look, even my writer and I disagreed on some finer points here and there. He thinks the final act is a tad rushed, and he's obviously wrong. But I'm willing to concede that this movie means more to me than I even realized going into this week. Or 2 weeks. If you asked me any time in the last 20 years what my top 10 favorite movies were, this was on it, simply because year after year, I rarely saw a movie I liked more than Gladiator. And that's... dang, I think that's still true. I'm not saying it's the best movie I've ever seen, I'm saying I love it. Generally, I don't love when the good guy dies anyway, but honestly, that just means this movie is that special to me. All right, enough gushing. And interestingly, I don't even really like the main narrative. Screw Rome, screw empires, goodness. And sure, the ending is very, we're a democracy now, but no, they're not. And that's why I enjoy the two real victories. The first is that regardless of what the wishes are, Maximus knew Marcus to be a good man, and he fought to grant his dying wish. The second is that Maximus wants to go home. He wants to go home so much that multiple times he leaves the fight before it's finished. Sure, it was blood loss, but it was also him finally accepting that it didn't matter what happened to Commodus with regard to his vengeance. He still needed to die for the Marcus stuff, so Maximus the general comes back for a few seconds, but Maximus the husband and father was out. So I did choose the theatrical for this video because that's the version for me, and for what it's worth, also Ridley. But it does add some interesting stuff. Maximus taking the time to visit his dismembered men before the party makes his hand-washing all the more poignant. He doesn't belong with these people, he wants to be with these people. There's also a scene with Lucilla where she lays out plainly why Commodus is actually a bad ruler.
He's selling Rome's reserves of grain. The people will be starving in 2 years.
It's a good scene. It's a really good scene for her. She gets to emote a bit. And there are some others that are well done and even serve a purpose, but man, the theatrical Ridley's director's cut flows so well for me that most of the extra stuff just stalls the vibes. But that's just me. I'm sure there are plenty of extended OnlyFans out there. Extended OnlyFans. That's like a Spotify playlist from all of your favorite OnlyFans creators? Anyway, it's probably obvious because the type of man that Proximo told Maximus he needed to be is not necessarily a bad man, but it's not what Maximus is ever going to be. Playing to the crowd as a means of survival is totally justified, but Maximus is going to burn his reputation with the crowd to save his comrades and do what he sees as right. There's currently a movement, I guess, to say that this is some celebration of masculinity, and sure, there's truth in that. I just think it's important to note that Maximus would laugh at the idea that he's the perfect archetype of masculinity or whatever. He'd call us dorks for talking about it. And he'd walk away before we mentioned that everything modern is an indictment of masculinity because it's not even worth his time. You can throw a stone in any direction and hit masculinity celebration movies like Maverick, The Northman, the Creed movies, Rebel Ridge. Who watched that one? Even Dune is about what it means to be the man and lead and the pitfalls, and yeah, I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet, so who knows, maybe I'm way off. I think the nicest thing I can say about Gladiator is that it does not feel 2.5 hours long, but it feels perfectly full. I'll be honest, I'm nervous for what Gladiator 2 has planned. This movie is very much lightning in a bottle. I'm sure they'll capture the fun, the gore, the spectacle again, but there's a part in this movie that not just anyone can be Maximus. I'm not saying Paul Mescal doesn't have what it takes. I'm just saying I'm optimistically hesitant. And that's all I'll say about that. Sorry this one took 2 weeks. Like I said, I didn't really know how awesome it actually was until I started, and then the wins kept writing themselves. Both parts are up on Nebula, uncensored and ad-free, as well as a brand new reaction video from me and my wife Julia for everything great about Fury Road. It was fun arguing with her, so I think we'll do more. Next week, another long one that will very likely be a two-parter, but you guys are used to that for this time of year. I'll just keep giving it my all.
You find yourself alone, riding in green fields with the sun on your face, do not be troubled, for you are in Elysium, and you're already dead!